Hello, everybody. My name is Dr. Alexis Johnson, and I am an associate professor of communication at Arkansas Tech University. I am really greatly looking forward to having the opportunity to speak with you all about some of the research that I have been doing. In particular, just I've noticed a shift in some of the autoethnographic work that I do in looking at sort of this balance between work life, and I do a lot of research on mental health and understanding mental health and how to talk about it. And something that I recognize in my own lived experiences and through autoethnography is that there is a great deal to say about mental health in regards to how we take care of ourselves physically, mentally, spiritually, just balancing our lives in a way that makes the most sense. And so this autoethnography is actually entitled The Religion Conundrum, because in society there's sort of, and I think many of us know and are aware, that there is a shift or a lean towards specific religious beliefs and those sorts of things. There's just more dominant religions in societies than other religions. And so typically speaking, we see those dominant religious beliefs being sort of respected as far as time off from work, being able to have time to commit yourself to that spiritual religion. And so I'm someone who grew up actually in a very unique household, and I like to kind of talk about this before I get into the research and why I've actually done the research that I have. So I grew up in a household where my mother was Jewish. She was 100% Ashkenazi Jewish. We were from, basically they came from the Soviet Union and they immigrated over here. So really my family is from the Ukraine originally, and everyone on that side is Jewish, has practiced Judaism. I've had relatives that unfortunately we lost in the Holocaust, and there's all kinds of really rich history on my Jewish side. Now, an interesting pair or match is my father is actually Catholic, and so he went to Catholic schools growing up. His family was fairly devout Catholic. His grandparents, his grandparents actually were from Italy, and so they actually had a pretty strong connection to Catholicism. And so growing up, we celebrated every single holiday, and my parents sort of left it up to us to decide as adults what we wanted to practice, what spoke to us the most. And honestly, I still to this day celebrate all of the holidays because it's just something that I remember from my childhood. But I also recognize that I lean more toward the actual religious and spiritual side of Judaism, and I always have ever since I was very little. And so in America, there are approximately 5.8 million Jewish adults. And so that makes up about 2.3% of the US adult population. We are very few in numbers. The statistic comes from Pew Research in 2020. This is actually compared to 332 million adults, or about 63% of the American population being a Christian religion. And again, that came from the same source for the statistic. So being Jewish in America, what that means is that we don't have our holidays really observed. We don't have the Sabbath off. Jewish people celebrate their Sabbath on Friday evenings, and it goes into Saturday. So every Jewish person, and a lot of people don't realize this, but Judaism is very diverse as far as religious beliefs go, like many different religions, right? Like Catholicism was my dad's Christian religion. Obviously, Catholicism is a lot different than a lot of other Christian religions. And so it's really important not to lump people all together and just assume that everyone practices the same, everyone believes the same. But something that a lot of Jewish people do on the Sabbath is not work, right? Like at sundown, it's time to not work, and Saturday you don't work. And something that I've encountered very frequently in my religious beliefs and practices is that that's not really respected. So, and high holidays, oftentimes, again, everything's celebrated typically at sundown. It just depends on the holiday itself. And so something that I recognize too is those high holidays. Also, there's a struggle as far as getting time off from work. So I also live as a Jewish individual in a constant state of fear of anti-Semitism. I never know who might be hateful towards a Jewish person, especially as someone who's coming from the north, now living in the south. It's something that I'm very hyper aware of, that it exists. It's very much still alive. And also just being misunderstood about the types of practices that I have and the religion itself, because again, there's so few of us. And so a lot of times when someone encounters a Jewish person, they have never met another Jewish person or had any sort of relationship with one. And so there's all different kinds of stereotypes, obviously, that exist as a result of media. And so in this autoethnography, really what my goal was to explore these inherent challenges of being in a minority religion in a very Christian-dominated society. And the main focus, the main thing that I was really interested in exploring is this idea of work-life balance in regards to spiritual health and spiritual religion. And something that I never did prior to basically becoming more religious, more in tune with my Jewish identity, is I never asked for time off for holidays. And people, of course, always just expected me to work. And there wasn't this like Christmas or other Christian holidays where there's time off. I didn't necessarily get that. Now, obviously, my religion, Judaism, is not the only religion or belief in the country that is statistically and like overwhelmingly marginalized. There's obviously quite a few different types of religious beliefs and practices, including non-religious beliefs and practices that aren't really protected, observed, understood. And so in a way, I'm not only speaking for people in my community, but also other communities who also experience this, because Judaism isn't exclusive to this event or experience. I am not 100%, but fairly certain that a lot of other religions that are not the majority tend to experience these sort of discriminations and issues with work-life balance. So I'll start with the story. This actually happened this past semester in the fall. There's an event Friday and Saturday, and we would very much like for you to attend. You can even bring your whole family. It'll be amazing. Statements like this are commonplace among all of the careers I've had, and this is the reality of being an adult as Jewish. Despite my many posts reminding people and emails reminding people of when the high holidays are for the Jewish New Year, and making my faith very well known to all my coworkers and people that I know, the practice of my faith still is not respected. And sometimes, even when I request to have time off, I'm acted like it is burdensome. We'll see. I feel incredibly betrayed. Just last week, I had emailed my schedule of high holidays to let my coworkers know when I would be able to be available. I feel guilt. I feel as though I'm expected to go, that even though I have every right, because of my spiritual wellness and beliefs, to take that time off, I still feel incredibly guilty. The high holidays, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, they are some of the busiest time in Jewish life. And there's a slew of other holidays that happen all around the same time in the fall, and it always makes the fall exceptionally difficult. We are starting this year off trying to explain that at sundown Friday, the holiday begins, and then Saturday is a day that is exclusively committed to prayer. I also very, very consistently deal with other holidays such as Hanukkah falling around finals time and not being able to fully immerse and be a part of that holiday because I am trapped in this place of feeling guilty while also wanting to have experiences with my family and practice my Jewish religion. So that was really the main areas that I focused on, was the holidays, the different holidays. I went through each one. Yom Kippur especially is a really difficult one. So Yom Kippur is our Day of Atonement, or like to say that we're sorry, and it's a very spiritual, holy day for Jewish people, and you're actually supposed to fast for 24 hours. You're not supposed to eat or drink anything. And I used to do that all the time, but now it's just, with my health, it's just way too hard to be able to do that. And when I did do that, having to go to work all day while starving and fasting, and I'm sure some other religious people have experienced this, that again, Judaism isn't the only religion that has this as part of their practice. It's difficult, and it is very isolating to be Jewish in general in the world, because there are so few of us, but it's incredibly isolating to be Jewish in a community that really doesn't have Jewish people. The other thing that I've had to deal with a lot too is there isn't really a Jewish community that's strong where I live, and so I have to travel over an hour just to be able to be around other people who are in a similar strand of what I practice. And so it can be, again, isolating and a difficult experience, and feel very alone when you don't really have a community of people that is nearby as well. So that's really all that I have for this presentation. I didn't want to get too theoretical and share too much, because I do want to have a discussion. Also, just the state of the world right now, it feels scary to talk about Judaism in general. And so I feel better having a more brief sort of explanation of where I was going with this piece. And I intend to continue to work on this piece, and I'm very excited to share it with you all. So please do not hesitate to reach out to me if you have any questions, or if you are a fellow Jewish person who just wants to vent about feeling as though you can't really have that time off to celebrate your holiday.